2 years ago, I decided that I didn't want to mix with plugins anymore, and I wanted to veer away from the realm of digital. I wanted to go to a more robust, more hybrid at the very least, mixing setup so that I can start incorporating outboard and analog gear. Because everyone knows that VU meters, knobs, and faders just feel so much more better. Feels so much more better. The first purchase that I made was the Midas L10. I purchased my Midas L10 from Guitar Center as an open box slash demo deal, and it was virtually untouched. There was no fingerprints on it. It looked brand new, and it was just almost too good to be true. It was $160. I bought it without thinking twice, and I was so excited because I finally got to start living the analog dream and get into the 500 series game. The first thing I did when I got the unit was burn it in for about 3 to 4 days. Put a unit inside it, turned it on, and just let it sit in the corner of my room. I then racked it up, put a power conditioner right above the unit, a patch bay right below the unit, and I believe I also had a Alesis 3630 compressor in that same unit that was sharing the same sort of signal path. Since owning this unit, I've had a ton of questions on not only 500 series gear, but the unit itself. And the one question I get asked constantly, and the reason I'm making this video is the unit noisy? Without having to sit through an entire video, the short answer is no if you're buying cheap modules, yes if you're buying expensive modules. And I will explain that now. My primary use of this unit was to mix and master, track, and it became so much more than that so quick, for me at least. I used it 16 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 2 years since I've owned the unit, and I've definitely abused it and used it, put it through its paces in that time frame, leaving it on for days, if not weeks at a time, and using it for my day-to-day life with not just music production and editing. Every Zoom call that I have made this year was run through that unit. Every Discord call that I make daily from this year and the year before has been run through that unit. Every single guitar track that I have done, voiceover, sample, demo that I have recorded, anything at all that has come from my studio to someone else has been run through that unit. And I've really never experienced any issues. I've bought, I've rented, I've borrowed several different modules for the unit, ranging from the higher end stuff like the Neve 511 to the like Happy Audio V28s, more towards like the lower side of the things with like the DBX units. Like I think I had the 530 in there. I've had a couple of the Midas units, the Fredenstein Artistic Mic Pre, and kind of sort of like everything in between. Warm Audio, Lindell Audio, JDK, Black Lion Audio, Louder Than Liftoff, and vice versa. I've had a ton of pieces in there. And I honestly thought it was a match made in heaven until I bought two pieces of gear just sort of recently that refused to play nicely within the unit. Two units that I bought that refused to work were the Shadow Hills Mastering Comp and the Chandler TG2. That being said, if you have either of those units, you definitely wouldn't want to put them in a Midas L10 to begin with, but I did, and nothing but hiss, nothing but hum, nothing but static. It was horrible. The sounds were absolutely atrocious. I tried to do whatever I could to make the hum stop, such as taking my entire 500 series rack out of my rack, putting it on my desk away from any other gear. The issue was still there. The noise was still totally obvious. I took all the units that I had inside it, all the modules out, and just made it so that only the Shadow Hills comp was in there. Still totally noisy. Did the same thing with the Chandler TG2. Still extremely noisy. I basically tried using a different power conditioner. I tried using some of the, like, I think I used the Hum X to try to get some of it out, and no matter what, the hum was still there. I took the units out and I put them into my Fredenstein Bento DS series. Hum gone instantly, full, just gone. Just full great sound right off the bat, no questions asked. Plug in, turn on, it works like it should, as how I thought it would have worked in the Midas L10. Like I said, if you're using a Shadow Hills mastering comp and you're using Chandler gear, you probably shouldn't be using a Midas L10, or Midas in general. And I'm sure while you can EQ that sound out, those really staticky frequencies, I'm sure you can fix it in post production. I'm sure if you're doing like heavy guitars or any sort of thing where there's a lot of gain going on, it won't be that bad of a problem. But for me, it was something that I couldn't live with, and ultimately, I think that was the main reason I ended up selling the unit. With 500 series gear kind of being like the central nervous system of my recording studio, it really was like a deal breaker, and the dream that started off so awesome with this piece of gear that I only paid $160 for, it really did just come to an end like that. And I had no real use for it after that. I do still have some cheaper units that work fine in it, but I just decided to kind of just go ahead and just kind of all out upgrade, and I just ended up getting rid of it. When you get a better 500 series rack, you can definitely, it's going to sound weird, you can definitely feel it, knowing deep down inside that you just shelled out a larger sum of money for just straight up power. It kind of feels a little like lackluster, but it's kind of like a, sort of protection bubble of sorts, knowing that all of your, expensive modules that you have within it are almost safe, and you kind of get that warm and cozy feeling knowing that, it's electrical power being done right. I do think that the Midas L10 is a great way to get into analog gear. I do think it's a great way to get into 500 series gear. I do think it's certainly usable for starting a foundation to a full 500 series rig, kind of like what I did. I don't think it's the best bang for the buck. If you end up getting it for $160, then yes, but at the $300 price range, for $50 more, you can get the Fredenstein Bento, just the regular Bento, and it's 2 slots less. You're only getting 8 slots, but those 8 slots are going to be much better power quality, and it's going to prevent you from running into the same issue that I did. The power supplies in all of the Bentos are incredible from what I've heard, even like the cheaper ones, and the more expensive ones are even better, I guess. I love mine. I've never had any issues with it thus far. It's only been like 5 months, but I mean, it's definitely a huge difference. If the Bento isn't your cup of tea, there is the radial 3 and 6 slot power supplies. I know a lot of people use the 3 slot just for like a mini channel strip, the 6 slot for more double channel strips, I guess. There's like Heritage Audio makes one, Lindell Audio makes one. They're all kind of in the same price, that $300 to $500 price range. And if you're going to start using higher end preamps and modules like the Shadow Hills Master and Comp or the TG2 by Chandler, definitely get a higher end. At the very least, get the Bento DS series. There's API, Bay, West Audio, Neve, IGS. The carrier's really nice, and I mean, it's basically, I'd safe to say that pretty much anything over like the $700 price range for a power supply is going to be what you want to put high end gear in. Bottom line, if you're looking to get into 500 series gear or analog gear, if you're not planning on running anything super expensive and you just want a couple of preamps that will entice your sound, it's definitely worth considering. definitely worth buying to use, even if for just a couple of units. If you're looking for something that's going to be more of a permanent solution that you don't really have to mess with, I would recommend going with something much more higher end. If you have any other questions on 500 series gear or the Midas L10, please feel free to ask. I reply within 24 hours usually. Sometimes if I'm busy, it might be 48 hours. And if this video helped you in any way, please like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot. Thank you. Hopefully this video helps somebody, because I've seen so much stuff on forums and YouTube comments and in person just on this single piece of gear. So hopefully it helps.